If you didn't catch it yesterday when Donald Trump was going off on his unhinged rant, calling on Russia to hack our computers, he also said something very, very strange about the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin. And this got virtually no attention. But I thought it was pretty shocking. What Donald Trump said. Well, here, I'll just play it for you. I'll play the audio here out of my computer. This is Donald Trump at his press conference at Doral, Florida, yesterday, talking about his asserting that President Putin is speaking this way.
We have a good relationship. Putin has said things over the last year that are really bad things, okay? He mentioned the N-word one time. I was shocked to hear him mention the N-word. You know what the N-word is, right? He mentioned it. I was shocked. He has a total lack of respect for President Obama. Number one, he doesn't like him. And number two, he doesn't respect him. I think he's going to respect your president if I'm elected. And I hope he likes me.
So President Putin is using the N-word to describe President Obama? You know, regardless of what you think of President Putin, I can't, first of all, I can't find anything to back that up. And secondly, Robert Mackey over at The Intercept wrote a piece. The headline is, Donald Trump thinks he heard Vladimir Putin call Barack Obama the N-word. He didn't. In other words, there is no truth to this. So where did Donald Trump get this idea from? Well, Free Republic TXT tweets, and I quote, I bet that Putin and his advisors use the N-word constantly when discussing how to deal with Obama. And another guy, another one of these right-wingers tweets, intelligence reports suggest Putin refers to Obama as the N-word in the White House, as do many Americans. Oh, really? And, I mean, this, oh, here's another one. This is Craig Infidel. I'll bet you $1 to a donut that Putin uses the N-word when talking about Obama. So here you have basically, you know, white supremacists and racists, in all probability. I don't know any of these individuals, but particularly when it comes from Free Republic, tweeting that President Putin's using the N-word with no evidence whatsoever. And a candidate for president of the United States of America from the Republican Party calls a press conference and quotes Twitter as if it was a fact, when it's not, by the way. There's absolutely no evidence that President Putin talks that way. And by the way, I don't think the N-word is even, you know, I don't think it exists in Russian. Well, I'm sure that there's a Russian analog of it, but it's not the word that we use. So we're talking here about core values. President Obama last night talked about core values. Clip number 5, Danielle. Here is him talking about the Republicans' idea of real America.
They tell voters there's a real America out there that must be restored. This isn't an idea, by the way, that started with Donald Trump. It's been peddled by politicians for a long time, probably from the start of our republic. And it's gotten me thinking about the story I told you 12 years ago tonight, about my Kansas grandparents and the things they taught me when I was growing up. See, my grandparents, they came from the heartland. Their ancestors began settling there about 200 years ago. I don't know if they had their birth certificates, but they were there.
I don't know if they had their birth certificates. He continues along these lines, talking about the values that his grandparents taught him, and implicitly, obviously, Donald Trump never learned.
And they were Scotch-Irish mostly. Farmers, teachers, ranch hands, pharmacists, oil rig workers. Hardy, small-town folk. Some were Democrats, but a lot of them, maybe even most of them, were Republicans. Party of Lincoln. And my grandparents explained that folks in these parts, they didn't like show-offs. They didn't admire braggarts or bullies. They didn't respect mean-spiritedness or folks who were always looking for shortcuts in life. Instead, what they valued were traits like honesty and hard work, kindness, courtesy, humility, responsibility, helping each other out. That's what they believed in. True things. Things that last. The things we try to teach our kids.
This is our president, the president of the United States, and Donald Trump, just 8 hours earlier, had dropped the N-word, or the phrase the N-word, functionally the same thing, especially when said by a white person, into a press conference, referring to a foreign head of state, referring to the president of the United States in a false statement. But hey, it was a great opportunity to point out to everybody, hey, have you noticed the color of President Obama's skin? This is from Trump, the original birther, remember? President Obama continues talking about these values he learned from his grandparents. Clip 7.
And what my grandparents understood was that these values weren't limited to Kansas. They weren't limited to small towns. These values could travel to Hawaii. They could travel even to the other side of the world, where my mother would end up working to help poor women get a better life, trying to apply those values. My grandparents knew these values weren't reserved for one race. They could be passed down to a half Kenyan grandson or a half Asian granddaughter. In fact, they were the same values Michelle's parents, the descendants of slaves, taught their own kids living in a bungalow on the south side of Chicago. They knew these values were exactly what drew immigrants here. And they believed that the children of those immigrants were just as American as their own. Whether they wore a cowboy hat or a yarmulke, a baseball cap, or a hijab.
And here he is wrapping this riff up. This is clip number 8.
America has changed over the years. But these values that my grandparents taught me, they haven't gone anywhere. They're as strong as ever. Still cherished by people of every party, every race, every faith. They live on in each of us. What makes us American, what makes us patriots, is what's in here. That's what matters.
Values live on in all of us, except for Donald Trump and Mike Pence. You know, Mike Pence takes $100,000 from the tobacco industry and then says, tobacco doesn't cause cancer. It does, you know, smoking won't kill you. There's nothing wrong with that. He takes money from the fossil fuel billionaires, from the Koch brothers, and says, oh, there's no such thing as climate change. Right. And then Donald Trump, of course, values? Seriously? 15 minutes past the hour.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.